Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sari and this is already day 10 of our advent calendar countdown. And today's featured pattern is the Belle and Sebastian pullover from last year. And as always with the advent countdown patterns, you can get it with a 24% discount until tomorrow. That is end of the day, December 11th. And end of the day Helsinki time. So the whole day today and the whole day tomorrow. Use the code BELLE, just BELLE. I will write all the links to the pattern below this video. So the pattern is available both on Ravelry as well as in my Shopify shop on sarinordlund.com. And I'll write the discount code links below this video, and everything else, if I mention something like yarn names or anything, I will write those also below the video, so it's easy for you to check the spelling and everything from there. The Belle and Sebastian pullover, like I said, I released it around this time of the year last December, and it was one of my favorite things to knit last fall. So yesterday I showed you the Ballard pullover and told you that it's one of the kind of more simple cable patterns that I have designed, and this is also I think if you want to do your first cable sweater, this is a very good place to start. It has very simple cables and it's fairly simple to knit. Also, it's knitted with slightly thicker yarn and slightly thicker needles, so it's very quick to knit. I have the sweater also here in another color, so this beautiful purple. It was knitted for me by my sample knitter. Both of these are knitted with fluff from the Wandering Flock, and it's a really nice, very lightweight, airy yarn, but it's still quite thick. I think it's like Aran weight maybe. So definitely thicker than a DK weight, and it's very light, like I said. So even though the yarn is quite thick, the sweater itself, it's very lightweight and not too hot, not too heavy to wear. And I think it's really good for cables. You can see the cables very well with this yarn. So this is another, it's exactly the same as this one, just another color. And this also has the European shoulder construction, so you start at the back neck, increase, and then pick up stitches for the front, joining the round at the underarm, and after that pick up stitches for the sleeves and for the neckband. So it has this cable pattern and also these like 4 cables over here, so they are not really cables. You just have like 3 knit stitches and you pull the third one over first 2 and then knit 1, make a yarn over and knit 1, and that produces this cable like pattern that really isn't a cable, and just like very basic cables over here. So there are 2 over 2 cables over here and 3 over 3 cables in the braid as well as the middle pattern, so very straightforward and simple. And the neckband, you pick up stitches for that and just ribbing for it. So this was one of my favorite makes, like I said. So there's a little bit of something going on. The pattern is very easy to memorize, so it becomes quickly very intuitive. You don't have to keep checking your charts for it. But like I said, there's still something going on all the time, and it keeps you engaged, but it's not too overwhelming. So I really loved knitting this one, and it's the same as with the Ballard pullover. I really want to make a Belle and Sebastian cardigan as well. So yesterday I talked about wanting to turn the Ballard pullover into a cardigan, so I really want to do that for this one as well. And I think there have been a lot of people asking for a Belle and Sebastian cardigan, and I think this would be so nice as a cardigan as well. So this is the Belle and Sebastian pullover. It got its name, well, first of all, I like the band, but also, I don't know, some of you might remember when I was a kid, there was a TV show, I think it was a French TV show called Belle and Sebastian, and it was about a boy and his dog. The dog was called Belle, and it was like this really big white fluffy dog. I think he was like he was not a golden retriever, maybe Pyrenees, I don't know. But it was huge and like really fluffy white, and I kept thinking about that dog when I was working with this yarn. So it kind of like the fluffiness and the softness of it reminded me of that dog from that TV show, and it feels like wearing a hug. So that's where the name Belle and Sebastian comes from. And also, if you like the band, then that's just a bonus for it. But the name for the sweater doesn't come from the band, it comes from the TV series from my childhood. So that's the little story behind the Belle and Sebastian pullover. And like I said, this one is today's Advent countdown pattern. Use the code Belle for 24% off, and links to the pattern are below this video. And I think like one more thing that I wanted to say about this sweater and this design is kind of like when I started to knit, I think I didn't have any friends who knitted. I started to knit at university. Some of my like student friends knitted, and they knitted during art history lectures, and I kind of like I wanted to learn as well, so I started knitting at that time as well. But after the university ended and I moved away from the city where I studied, I didn't have any knitting friends at all. I was the only one who knitted, and only after that, like years after that, I started to find like the knitting community and knitting friends. And I think knitting has been very life-changing for me, not only because it turned into my hobby, from my hobby as to my career. So it's no longer just something that I do for fun. It's where I get my salary from, and it's kind of like what I do for a living nowadays, not just like in a money sense, but I feel like knitting is such a big part of me. But also all the people and the community I have found through knitting, and I love taking parts in all the knitting events like yarn festivals and knit nights, and meeting new people. And I have made so many great friends through knitting and yarn. And Geraldine, who owns the Wandering Flock, whose yarn I used for this one, has become such a dear friend for me over these past 2 years. So we first met almost 2 years ago when I went to New York for Vogue Knitting Live, and the Vogue Knitting Live event was really busy, so we didn't really get to talk that much over there. But then we went for dinner last year at Sacred Sheep, and I think we really hit it off. And after that, when I went to New York last May, and then to Flock 5 Festival in Seattle, and of course I stayed at Geraldine's Airbnb at Rhinebeck, and I think getting to use and showcase a yarn that my friend has made. So she has kind of like imagined this yarn and made it reality. So it feels like such an honor to get to use a yarn from my friend's business and support her by making designs with her yarn. And also it feels like a little hug to get to use a yarn that comes from my friend. So I think it's very, very special. And there are so many people who I have met through knitting that I nowadays get to call even my best friends. It's amazing, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So a little bit of friendship woven into these stitches in the Belle and Sebastian pullover, and that's why it means so much to me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I loved knitting it so much last fall. So the Belle and Sebastian pullover, is today's countdown pattern, and I hope you enjoyed this little video and hear me talking about it. And tomorrow I will come back with another very popular pattern, one of my most popular patterns over the years. I can't wait to show it to you. See you tomorrow. Bye.